Hey guys, it's Awakening with Allie, back with Allie. So excited for today's show. I have such an incredible friend and guest. She is a holistic beauty coach and such a beautiful soul. I have the fabulous Amanda Porta. And Amanda, she blends her love of aesthetics and natural health to help her clients achieve optimal results. She has worked in all areas of the beauty industry for 18 years and is trained under some of the best practitioners in the country. Early on, in order to get the best results for herself and others, Amanda realized the importance of incorporating holistic health into all of her treatment plans. Her love of innovation inspired her to introduce the concept of wellness to the plastic surgery industry back in 2012. She created a non-toxic skincare line and strategized business relationships with wellness and beauty brands for a prominent Beverly Hills plastic surgeon. She's super passionate about educating and inspiring people to become their personal best. And Miss Porter is known, like I said, for being all about wellness, holistic health, as well as a patient advocate for women going through implant illness, BII, which we're going to get into today. And I'm really interested to get to hear all about this. And basically, has gone through her own illness, and she's going to share her story with us and how she was explanted, detoxed, healed, and now helps guide women through their own explant journeys. And I could say more and more, guys. She's been featured in so many different incredible, media outlets and everything for speaking out. But I really just want her to share her story. So, Amanda, thank you for being here on Awakening with Allie.
I'm so excited to be here. We've been waiting for this day.
Yes. So tell us, I gave a little bit about you, obviously, but tell us a little bit more, kind of maybe where your awakening started. Kind of speak to what, BII is for those that don't know. And, I would just love for you to kind of start there because you do have such a background, when it comes to beauty and then wellness. And then, of course, holistic health, as I mentioned in your bio. But I would love for you to share kind of where it started because it sounds like that journey is what led to all of that.
Right. No, absolutely. And if you have any questions, just stop me. Well, I grew up in Northern California. My mom has always really been natural, always reminding us to take our vitamins. She's an amazing cook. All of my meals growing up, right? Like 5-course Italian meals. My father was Italian. And then she married an Englishman. So then we had a lot of English foods. But I think that we fall back on those good values. So I had really great values around food. I had really great values around health and natural, right? I don't remember, even though I know my father was a doctor, my mom really never put us on antibiotics. I mean, here and there, if it was totally necessary. But so she was practicing all of this already. So it would make sense. Well, as I grew up and got on my own in my 20s, I had a breast deformity and I had tried to correct it just with a surgery. And unfortunately, it just really didn't give me the results I was looking for. So then the surgeon says, why don't we then use breast implants? We use breast implants for women with this deformity because it is actually more common than we know about. And it will push the tissue out and it will give you a nice shape. And so I reluctantly, I remember, said yes. I never felt right about it though, because I just thought I'm so natural. Looking down, this was my thought, looking down in the shower, is that going to feel weird to see these two things that don't really belong in me? But I just wanted to quote unquote look normal, even though I had a very mild case and nobody would have known. But I knew it was my thing.
Sure.
My insecurity. So I reluctantly said yes. I did my research in terms of finding a great surgeon. I found a female surgeon who my friend had gone to. She was affiliated with the university in my town. It's conservative. So I'm thinking, okay, this will be great. She puts in 2003 saline implants in me. And it's important to note the year. In 2003, you could not have silicone implants if you were a woman wanting to receive implants at that time. Silicone implants had been banned from the market for about 10 years.
Oh, okay.
There were many, many women sick in the 90s because of their breast implants. It was blamed on ruptures. And I'm sure that did happen a lot. However, now as an advocate and all the research I've done, I do believe that a lot of the women back then probably had breast implant illness. that I would later develop, and that many women are kind of putting the, connecting the dots and figuring out now. So they had been banned. So I received saline implants. Well, I immediately got capsular contracture. Layman's term, the implant gets hard and uncomfortable. Okay. So sometimes it corrects on its own if it's mild. Sometimes the doctor can do that. Other times you have to replace them. So I needed to replace them, right? Immediately after getting them. So I waited a year, and then I went back to my original implanting surgeon, and she was on maternity leave. So I had to choose a new surgeon. Chose one who was actually doing studies for the manufacturer. So again, I thought, well, he must be pretty competent. Okay, I'm making another good choice. And when I went in to see him to replace the saline, he said, I think we should replace them with silicone.
Oh.
Now that did surprise me. I remember saying, well, wait a minute, isn't silicone bad? That's what
my like a red flag.
Yeah. And he said, oh, no. Ruptures were an issue. And so now these new ones coming to the market, you'll be one of the first ones to receive them. They're not even available to the public because we're going to do a study on you. We'll track you, follow you, make sure everything's good. And you're thin, so there won't be any rippling. I think you're going to be much happier. They're softer, they feel real. So I said, okay, right? Because I think he's going to do a study.
Sure.
They're new and improved. He said that the shell of the implant now was so strong that there's no way you could get a rupture. And then again, I wouldn't have known at the time that it doesn't need to be ruptured to get sick. And in fact, we'll talk about that later. My breast implants, when they came out after 15 years, there was no evidence of rupture.
Oh, wow.
And I was very sick. And that's true for many women.
Okay.
So I'm 20 something years old. I've just had now my second surgery in a year. Oof. Every time we have surgery, it impacts our immune system. I'd also had a high-speed car accident. Somebody hit me, and it was a pretty severe accident in 2001. So that again would like disrupt hormones, lower my immunity, making me just in a vulnerable state.
Sure.
But again, back then we're not thinking about that, and the doctors and the surgeon says it's fine, so you do it.
Sure. Well, we've been taught to listen, and sure. Mm-hmm.
Right, we believe doctors.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say now, looking back, in those first 9 months, I did start developing hormonal issues.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but I wasn't connecting it to the implants, right? Because again, I'm 20 something, I probably just wanted to like get my implants and get back out to having fun with my friends. So I had an issue with falling asleep, with insomnia, night sweats. I suffered from a ruptured ovarian cyst. Again, nothing you would necessarily trace back to the implants. However, if I had been being tracked properly in a study, this would have, right, they would have noticed this right from the very beginning, that it was already affecting me.
So were they not really tracking, even though that was what was told was going to happen?
I never was called again, never called back to the office. The startling thing is, though, now as an advocate, how many women
That's what I was going to say. How many women went through the same thing that also weren't tracked and weren't handled? And wow.
I've heard many, both from patients as well as followers, and from the same surgeon. Isn't that ironic?
Wow.
Promised me. I have at least 3 followers that said, oh, I went to him too, and I was never followed. And they've all since explanted.
Wow. So let's get into, thank you for sharing that. Let's get into kind of the explant and how that came about and how you started connecting the dots and what that looked like for you to then make the decision to explant.
Sure. So those hormonal issues were relevant, and I did go to a gynecologist, and of course they said, oh, that's normal for you. I said, no, it's not normal to have perimenopausal symptoms at 25 years old. But again, see, this is what they always blame it on something else, or it's in your
Yeah,
head.
they normalize it. And what I've learned is, in a sense, it's gaslighting. It's like, oh no, that can't be true, or oh no, that can't be it. It has to be this, and oh, that's somewhat normal. And yeah.
Sure. But for people who say have never been sick before, and this is the first time you're ever going to doctors on a regular basis, I didn't know about medical gaslighting
Of
back then
course.
or anything, right? So I would say that yes, things were going on. I was noticing inflammation come and go, like an extra 5 to 10 pounds would come and go. And I thought it was weird just because I don't gain weight, like my body just is. But again, I'm getting older. So I just thought, okay, well, maybe that's normal. But it wasn't until about 2012, another minor fender bender, someone hit me 10 miles an hour from behind. Not a big deal. But the amount of pain in my body was as if I got hit by a Mack truck. It didn't make
Oh,
sense. Yeah. And I've got chiropractors, massage therapists saying, I'm saying, like, I'm in so much pain and I have so much inflammation. I don't even want you to touch me. And it didn't make sense because they're like, you were only in a 10-mile-an-hour accident. Well, now, right, I'm thinking this is the inflammatory response, and the breast
oh, okay.
implant, that response in the body. I mean, sometimes during this whole journey, I had up to 58 pounds of inflammation.
Wow.
So after that, that is kind of what started then my chronic illness journey. And all of a sudden overnight, 38 different things going on in my body. Everything from hair loss to vision issues. My thyroid was out of whack, although all the tests showed that it was fine, but I had hypothyroid issues for sure. I could no longer walk up a flight of stairs without being winded. It's like I felt like I was 100 years old.
Wow.
Like, I'm someone who works out like twice a day. The inflammation, I kept pointing out to doctors, this is scary. I look like the Michelin man. What is going on? And they said, oh no, you just turned 40. You're just gaining a couple pounds. Like they've
So it was
all,
just all kind of relative. There was no like connections from what you're saying. There was no, oh, maybe this could be this, or we should discuss this. It was literally just wrapped up into, oh, it's just you aging, you changing.
yes, or it was the car accident, always something to blame. So I realized, maybe after this is now a couple of years, I've seen all of these doctors taking so many tests. They are offering me anxiety medication, saying it's got to be anxiety.
Of course.
And I get it. Okay, sure. Am I a little anxious? Maybe, yes, but I'm more anxious because nobody seems to be helping me.
See,
And
that's
you're
what really bothers me, like not to cut you off, but like I talk to so many people, like no matter whether it's explants, people that have had, other, issues with their body, all kinds of different health issues. And besides the gaslighting that goes on in the medical community, it's this conversation that you're speaking to right now of like, oh, let's just put you on a pharmaceutical drug. Oh, you just need this for anxiety. Oh, you just need, and it's like, why are we not listening to the patients and having a conversation and really trying to get to the root cause and figure it out? And instead we're like, oh no, here's this medication, maybe it'll calm you down, or maybe it'll pacify the situation, or whatever it may be. And then we wonder why we have a society the way it is right now.
Yeah, and it severs the mind body connection, because
Of
when
course,
somebody's constantly telling you, oh, it's your anxiety, there's nothing
take
wrong with
this. Yeah.
exactly. So then you start doubting yourself. But I'll say this, I really don't doubt myself. I'm very intuitive.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was kind of like, you know, clapping back and say, no, sorry, I know what anxiety is, and that's not what this is. Then they would blame it on, well, you just, we tested you and you have Epstein-Barr virus. Okay, well, in time, I also developed other viruses like shingles, which typically doesn't happen to somebody as young as I was at the time. Well, Epstein-Barr, I mean, many of us come into contact with that, but that doesn't mean it's active in our body. So then they wanted to blame it all on that. And I said, I get it. Yes, Epstein-Barr might be active right now in my body, but we need to ask, why is it active? Why is my immunity low that this is coming out? Because I don't ever remember having
Right.
bar to the point where I was, in bed for a month or anything like that. It's like the common sense wasn't there. And so they would keep blaming it, yes, on other things. And I'd say, well, that might be part of it, like my thyroid being disrupted. It's not everything going on. And I kept saying to my mom, just the downloads I was getting. I was getting the messaging of like all of the systems in your body are kind of slowing down. They're not working optimally.
Mhm.
And so what could this be? I was thinking I ingested something, right? Or it was toxic mold. I didn't know. I just knew that my chest felt weird. And then
Right.
I had all of these 38 symptoms.
Wow.
So I just decided, you know what? I'm going to have to learn everything about the human body. If these doctors aren't helping me, and it didn't seem like they even wanted to, and it also didn't seem like they even could recognize inflammation on that level. So I started studying everything I could about the human body. I started working under a German naturopath, learning everything I could, because I kind of felt like I'm going to run out of time. If I don't now, there are so many things going on. How are they going to figure it out if they couldn't figure it out several years ago? So I started seeing holistic practitioners, fell in love with holistic medicine. I'm since now a certified health coach. I've gone back to school.
Amazing.
But it ended up to be 2017. That was one opportunity for me to wake up. Crystal Hefner,
Okay.
married to Hugh, she came out and said that her breast implants were making her sick. And I remember saying to my boss at the time, because I got goosebumps, right? And we know that
from knowing her story.
hearing her story. And I remember saying to him, she sounds just like me. Is it my breast implants that are the problem? And let me tell you, this surgeon I used to work for, he was in his early 60s. So he was well aware of the Dow Corning lawsuit. He would have actually worked through the moratorium. And he said, no, there is no illness associated with breast implants. And this woman sounds crazy. Don't listen to women like this. Well, that's where I made the mistake. I should have done my research, but I trusted him. Again, trusting a doctor. I work for him. I'm making this man a lot of money. I would think he would have my best interest at heart. So that cost me a year and a half.
Wow.
And so it was just, I say this all the time. When God wants you to wake up, he's going to wake you up.
I just got chills because it's 3:33 on my clock.
I love it. So it was December 2018. A friend suggested I go to a new colonic practitioner right here in Santa Monica. At that point, I hadn't given up, Allie, but I always held out hope. I always had faith because I have a lot of faith. I could see myself in the future better and potentially maybe helping others because of my journey. But I didn't know how I was going to get there.
Sure.
And so I wasn't even talking anymore about it. I was kind of sick of hearing myself tell the story. Mm-hmm. So she kept pushing me to have a colonic with this woman. So I finally went. I think it took a couple months. I arrive, I tell her a little bit. I said, my lymphatic system is congested. We don't know why. My legs have a lot of edema, a lot of other things going on. By the end of my session, as I'm leaving, she said, I think I know why you're sick. And I thought, okay, colonic practitioner. I mean, sure, what do you have to say? Yeah. And she said, it's your breast implants.
She connected the dots.
But she was so matter of fact. When someone's so matter of fact, you can't even really. And I said, my breast implants. I said, did you see what I do for a living? I wrote it on the paperwork. Mm-hmm. She said, yeah, I saw it. I said, I've never had any women coming into any of the practices that I've worked at complaining of the symptoms that I have. And that's true. Mm-hmm. And she said, I've had 11 women lay on this table. They all sound and look like you, because I was very inflamed. Mm-hmm. And when they get their breast implants out, they get better.
Wow.
And, when you're not quite ready to wake up,
sure,
you can hear it. I can see what people are going through now. You hear it, you accept it, but you're not
Not your
really,
truth. Yeah. Yeah.
you're not ready to. And of course, here I'm thinking, well, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I'm the one who works in the industry. The next day, a guy friend of mine calls just to say, Happy New Year. And I said, I'm still not feeling well. And he said, every time you discuss how you're feeling, you sound just like my neighbor. I think you should call her. So
Okay.
now I'm calling her, his neighbor, who I don't really even know. And she was so lovely. And I'm explaining to her all my symptoms. And she said, it's your breast implants. And I thought,
These are now 2 in a row within a very short span.
within a day.
Wow.
This was all like just the, December 2018. So that was weird. But
Like you
again,
said, when God wants to show you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I saw this big sign or something in the magazine saying that France was banning some implants.
Oh,
Now that's
more
3,
signs.
right? They're just every day. Then a week later, I go for Botox. Discuss later. I don't do Botox anymore now.
No shame. I used to do too. I'm 3 years out, but I hear you.
Honest though. And you want someone to talk you out of something. And I love this Botox practitioner. He's just a funny doctor who's always in a good mood. And so as he's, diluting the Botox, getting it ready, I said, oh, you'll never believe what they think is wrong with me now. Because there were a lot of stabs in the dark, but nothing. Sure.
Yeah.
And I'm expecting him to talk me out of it. And I said, they think my breast implants are making me sick. And the way he put down the bottle and the syringe, and he wheeled his little stool over to me, and he looked up at me and he said, Amanda, I've never seen this man serious in his life. If that's what you think this is, you need to remove those immediately. He said, I've had 6 women. He was a facial plastic surgeon, but I've had 6 patients recently who've been through this. And he scared me so much. I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to go and meet with plastic surgeons next week.
Wow.
So I call some of the best surgeons' offices in Beverly Hills, thinking I'm so lucky. I'm in the cosmetic capital of the world. They're going to meet me and welcome me with open arms and say, let's help you. Let's remove these. Because now too, I went into my first breast implant illness support group on Facebook.
Okay.
Over 100,000 women at the time.
Wow.
Now it's over 150,000 just in this one group. And I'm reading post after post of these women, all the same symptoms. I feel like I'm dying. My hair is falling out. My vision, this all happened overnight. And they removed their implants and they got better. So I already knew that going into these consults. And it's, I'm feeling like I'm living in the Twilight Zone. Like, what
Sure.
alternate universe is this, right? Because I've worked in this industry for so long and I've never heard any of this, right? Selling implants in some cases over the years. So all of those first surgeons I spoke to in Beverly Hills, the cosmetic capital of the world, sounded just like my old boss. These women are crazy. Do not listen to this, Amanda. This is a social media phenomenon. And so I was clapping back now. And now I really was, because I was drinking the Kool-Aid all
Sure.
these years, in the medical industry too. But now I'm like, that doesn't resonate with me. I said, you're telling me over 100,000 women who span all across the globe, who do not know each other, are coming with the exact same story.
Right. Came together for this social phenomenon. Unbelievable.
You can't sue the manufacturer. So it's not like they're doing it for monetary means they're all risking, because in many cases, women love their implants.
Sure.
Right? They don't want to get rid of them. So I thought that was such a statement to say, I've been so sick, I'm willing to remove my implants that I actually really love. And you don't really know what you're going to look like afterwards.
Sure. Yeah.
They do damage to the tissue, whether they've been in for 6 months or 20 years. But that's how, and they're paying for it out of pocket.
Right. So there's literally no monetary gain here, or any kind of gain in general for these women, other than getting healed.
right. That's how desperate they are. So I looked at them. I said, so yeah, you mean to tell me that they're all making this up? I said, no, sorry. I'm willing to try this, because they were doing everything to talk me out of it. I
Wow.
said, I just want to try it. This is resonating with me. I've tried everything else. The symptoms are
Yeah.
getting worse, it's not getting better. I'm cool with it. Even if it doesn't work, I'll know that I tried, right?
Would you say now that you're copping back in in this scenario with these, surgeons and everything, and you're, now have kind of essentially connect the dots, you're in this community, would you say that's kind of where your awakening started, like where you really started feeling that, pull to like, there's way more to this?
Well, it's a process, as we know,
Yeah.
awakening. But yeah, there were some interesting things that I said to my surgeon, Dr. Brenner, who removed my implants. So he was my fourth consult. And I chose him because when I told him my story, he was listening for the
Okay.
first time. Someone was listening, I was being acknowledged. He said, I've been having more and more women come in requesting their implants be removed because they've been sick and can't figure it out. And so he said, when I said that that's what I wanted, he said, I think that sounds reasonable. Let's try taking them out. No guarantees.
Yeah.
He said, there are no guarantees. And he's a reconstructive surgeon. And I
Oh, okay.
really feel like that was a plus too, because he deals with the most complicated
Mhm.
scenarios. So I thought like, okay, that's another plus. He listens, he acknowledges, he can do a proper explant.
Yeah.
Um, so I do remember after my surgery calling him after a few weeks and saying, you can be straight with me. Did I flatline on the OR table? And he said, no, why are you asking that? I said, because it feels really different. Life feels really different. I can see people, scenarios for what they truly are. And he's probably like, what are you? And he said, no, but I've heard since then, sometimes this can happen to people when they have a surgery like that, kind of to
Mhm.
save their life. Someone called it being prophesized. I don't know if that's what you call
Right.
it.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, but some people call it enlightenment. I mean, I've heard all kinds of
Yeah.
stories. I mean, I've heard people that have, gone in and passed out and not known why they passed out, and then, been taken care of, and then waking up in the hospital and having a whole new perspective. I mean, I feel like all of that is very much possible.
Yeah. And so I took those first 6 months and I just recovered. And every day felt a little bit better. There'd be some days I get tired here and there, and that's normal as your body heals. I even took another job in hair restoration because I said, I'm not going to sell breast implants. There's no way. I
Sure.
don't want to work in an office that does. So I was working in hair restoration. And that was, yeah, 6 months after my surgery. Dr. Brenner said, would you like to handhold my explant patients through their surgeries? Because these women have been so sick. I can't imagine what they've been through. So that's when we started working together 2.5
Wow.
years ago. And it has been, I realized, after what I had been through, I wanted to be a patient advocate now. Because if this was happening to me, I knew it was happening to others. And I find it so fascinating now, like almost 3 years later, we are seeing so many stories in the press about medical gaslighting. And all of
Yeah.
these women have
And
similar
seeing
stories.
so many more celebrities, public figures, people, that are, in headlines, social media, influencer, all different walks of life, right? But especially ones that are in front of the camera and very much in the public eye that are speaking out about getting an explant.
Yeah, it's true. And again, I am not trying to get implants off the market.
Sure.
I merely just wanted to help other women who might have had the same reaction I did. And I only knew because I had been in that Facebook group. I remember saying to Dr. Brenner, there are hundreds of thousands of women who seem to be sick like me from maybe possibly their implants. And he said, oh, you don't think we would know about it if that were true? I said, I don't know, but I'm telling you what I saw. And so now, he can't believe it, but he believes it because I've been telling him this. You can't believe how many women are calling the office each week. And they all have similar stories.
Wow.
We're explanting them and they're all getting better.
Wow.
I'm not saying every single symptom, right? It's a
Right, of
process.
course,
Like,
right.
your body doesn't heal
But the
overnight.
BII, the breast implant illness, correct me if I'm wrong, but overall, from everything you experience and other women are experiencing, it's seeming somehow with these implants, it is leading to things like autoimmune and other issues inside of the body. And that is why so many women have been sick for so long and then not knowing why they're sick.
Absolutely. And then the impact on your immune system. I mean, on my page, you'll see I have a post from 1994, New York Times, saying that breast implants irritate the immune system.
Wow.
So it's been out there, but I know that there's been a lot of manipulation of search engines and a lot of efforts to hide this story. And now it seems like this is history repeating itself 30 years later. If you
Wow.
this old Connie Chung episode and old Diane Sawyer episode on breast implants, you can go on DuckDuckGo and try to find it. It's as if nothing's changed. All of the women saying the exact, I mean, it gives you goosebumps, because even Dr. Brenner said, this is crazy. It's like nothing's changed in 30 years.
Wow.
And more women than ever have them after Baywatch and all of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like approximately 24 million women have them
Wow.
worldwide.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because it's become a part of like status, right? And trend and, fashion and all these different things with the body. I mean, so, okay. So you essentially, you had your awakening, you got your explant, you realized how much more you were connecting the dots you were seeing. Obviously, as you said, you went through so much healing, which brought you to the space then now where you are a patient advocate. You are working with, Dr. Brenner and all the amazing things you guys are doing. And you're getting to now, I'm sure it's so healing alone for you to even just be a part of that and hold other women's hands and help them now that you've healed and you're able to see their healing, like how beautiful. So tell us kind of where you are now and what you're doing, because you're doing so much for the BII community and everything that's going on.
Oh, well, I just think it's such an amazing community. If you think about it, with these women, we don't even know one another, and we are all following each other, supporting each other through this. It's really beautiful, especially since, women, how they can be
For sure.
with one another, etc. So I just thought that was lovely. So I am working for Dr. Brenner as his patient advocate. We've created the first holistic women's breast team. I have 2 naturopaths on the team, a lymphatic colonic specialist, a woman who does medical tattooing for scarring and 3D areola creation after double mastectomy. And then we also have a woman who has been through it as well, Sarah Ann, who can coach patients, just more one-on-one personal coaching. And then I'm there to help them with everything, right? All your items to purchase. And I'm a health coach, so I can help them with some basics. So I have that there. You don't have to utilize them. I just say to everybody, your healing is up to you. You can take it as far as you want to. But I'm thinking all chronic illness is really an opportunity to heal ourselves physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And some of
Wow.
us really take it all the way, and some of us may not. And we all decide our path.
Yeah. Wow. That's so beautiful. And I love that you said that it's like your own way of being able to heal. And we all do have the power, right, to heal and help heal ourselves and where we take that and how far and how long that goes and what we want. And you're so right, Amanda. There is such a connection of mind, body, spirit, and how much you allow that to play in, which clearly you have so much in your life and in your path and in the purpose now of probably what's always been your purpose that you've now essentially aligned with, which is really beautiful. And I think it's so amazing that you share this because, like you said, so many are going through this, and also not just explant, right? We're seeing it in general right now in the medical community, sadly, along the vax from what's happened over the last few years and all these different things that people are just being told, no, you're crazy, no, you don't know. And it just goes to show you, anyone watching or listening, you do know. Trust your intuition, trust the signs. You had many that you just weren't ready to see yet.
I wasn't ready to see them. And symptoms are our friends. They are signaling the body, red flag, something's going on, so you can then heal it before it turns into something worse. And we're trying to understand BII. There is, no ICD-10 code for it yet. There's no test you can take. The only thing is really considering all of the symptoms, thinking to yourself, have I not been feeling well for a period of time? Am I getting any other clear diagnoses that make sense? Is anything getting better or are things getting worse? Did these symptoms start after getting breast implants? And it's not necessarily right afterwards. For some women, the symptoms like me, it didn't start until I had some, but the real symptoms
I
didn't
get
start.
you. Mhm.
And then, they have to really do some real work around the decision to remove their implants. I always say, do not take that lightly. It is a big deal. Surgery is a big deal. And I hear all of their stories, and I'm just simply trying to make surgery a better experience than some of these women have had in the past. I want patients, I've always been like that though. I've always gone above and beyond for my patients and always wanted them to feel, like we're all, we're family, we're supporting you through it. It makes a big difference
Oh, for
because
sure. When you have support, right? And also too, like it makes a big difference when you have a team who is listening to you. Like you said, that was what made you choose, your surgeon was like, oh, they're actually hearing me and seeing me and listening, even if maybe they don't fully agree with me, they're listening, right? And we're seeing so much of that in the medical community in general that, like, of course, not all doctors, but many aren't listening. They're just, oh no, it can't be, or that's not true, or, and it's sad, honestly. And I think it's so important when people like you, speak out and share your story, and also remind people that they do have that intuition. They do know their own bodies. Like you said, your symptoms are your friends. I love you said that because it's so true. It's like being able to step into like what your body is and like being able to, be like, okay, I know myself, so I know we have to wrap things up here in a few, but is there anything you'd want to share, going forward of kind of where you are in your awakening journey and everything? And then of course, everything will be in the show notes. And thank you for being so vulnerable to share your story and everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, hey, it's not easy to share this kind of personal journey with everyone, but I know that it's not going to help anyone if I don't say anything. And I just really care more about protecting others than anything else. I would just say, there is such a great life after regaining your health. I can't even express it enough. I made major lifestyle changes, cutting out toxic people to toxic food, toxic water, toxic products. It's a whole lifestyle change. That's why I created my account on Instagram, The Holistic Beauty Coach, because I felt like we should all have choices, just like Eastern Western medicine at our practice. Why isn't there more talk for women who say, like me, just want to be more natural and talk about beauty treatments? And right, we're finding out so many cancer causing chemicals in all of these products.
Yeah.
And I just, during COVID, I started posting chemicals that are approved by the FDA that are in your children's cereal, makeup
Wild.
that we all know and love, these brands that have been around forever that have carcinogens in them. And I just think that people were just like me, wow, I didn't even know this. And so
Right.
they kind of felt, yeah, it was
Yeah, a
interesting.
place to get information for sure. Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of how we connected, is like in the non-toxic space and just wanting more people to have more options and to know that healing is very much available to them, like you said, and be able to do things differently if they choose to, and to make a lifestyle change. And I know, same with you, I've slowly made a lifestyle change over the last probably 4 or 5 years. And it's definitely a slow, moving, it hasn't been so easy to change everything, obviously, but it's been so much better. And I notice a difference every day in every way. And yeah, I agree with you. I think that's such a great message. And I can't thank you enough for sharing, your journey and your vulnerability. I know you're going to be back on the show with Barbara, who will be sharing more and more about what you guys are doing. Do you want to make a quick mention and then tell us where we can find you and follow you? And of course, everything will be in the show notes.
Of course. Yes. My lovely friend, Barbara Adler, is so amazing. And she and I together have started a nonprofit, Free the Tatas, and
Love the
Free the
name.
org is our Instagram handle. And we're going to be raising money for women's breast health, both breast cancer and breast implant illness. It's actually connected with crypto on the XRP exchange, the first nonprofit or one of them anyway. So that's kind of cool and exciting because I think that's the future. And yeah, I would just say to any women listening, especially because if this is the first time you're hearing it and you do have breast implants, don't panic. And know that there are teams like ours here in Beverly Hills, and there are lots of lovely explant surgeons across the country who are helping a lot of these patients. Women are finding out much faster than I did, not having to wait 7 years. And so I know that we're making progress. And again, I want to say, I'm not a girl who, because they didn't work out for me, I don't want them to work out for others. I don't want anyone to be sick. So
Yeah.
I want to hear more stories of women who don't have these symptoms.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I really appreciate you sharing your story and just being so vulnerable. Everything will be in the show notes, guys. Thank you so much for listening, for tuning in, for being a part, watching. And like Amanda said, if this is your first time hearing it, allow it to awaken something in you, allow it to bring awareness, allow it to tap into your own intuition, as Amanda said that she kind of wished she tapped into earlier on, and that's what this show is all about, trusting in your own awakening, activating that light within you, letting you come home to yourself. So I hope this episode and the show does so much more for you. Thank you so much, everyone. Love, light, and blessings. Amanda, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Love you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.